Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Alexander Blake, heir to a vast fortune and CEO of a global empire, seemed to have it all: power, wealth, and influence. But despite all his success, he remained alone. The women he met admired him for his money, not for himself. Tired of appearances and self-serving intentions, Alexander hatched a bold plan. Under the name of Max Turner, he temporarily left his luxurious life and got hired as a simple guard in a working-class neighborhood. His goal: to meet a woman who would love him for who he really was, not for his bank balance. It was there that he met Emma Carter, a young woman with a generous heart, full of dreams and hopes, but completely unaware of Max's true identity. Every encounter, every smile exchanged, every shared moment brought him closer to a risk he had never anticipated: falling in love for real. But Alexander didn't know that the path to true love was fraught with pitfalls. Between secrets, misunderstandings, and revelations, his quest to find the perfect woman would turn his life upside down more than he could have imagined. Alexander Blake, CEO of a financial empire, left his luxurious penthouse every morning to don the uniform of a simple security guard: gray trousers, a plain shirt, and a name badge bearing the name Max Turner. The contrast between his real life and this fictional identity was striking. Where he was used to meetings with investors and gala dinners, he found himself monitoring security cameras and greeting the neighborhood residents with a discreet smile. The goal was clear: to find a woman who would love him for himself, uninfluenced by his status. But Max knew it wouldn't be easy. The locals were wary of strangers, and he had to find the right balance between discretion and authenticity. It was during his first walk around the local park that he saw her. Emma Carter. She was sitting on a bench, surrounded by children she was watching over like a babysitter. Her brown hair danced in the breeze, and her light laughter echoed like a melody Max had never heard. He didn't know why, but something about her immediately drew him in. He observed her simple, generous gestures. She helped a little boy pick up his fallen belongings, shared a smile with a passing old lady, and seemed to radiate a kindness Max had never seen in his high society circles. For the first time in a long time, he felt his heart beating for something other than adrenaline or success. He knew this meeting was only the beginning of a dangerous path, strewn with secrets and lies, but he couldn't help but want to venture down it. The next day, Max decided to take a little more initiative. As he walked past the park, he noticed Emma picking up a ball stuck in a tree. Without thinking, he stepped forward. "Need a hand?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Emma looked up in surprise, then smiled. "Oh, thank you. That ball belongs to my little cousin. He's a little too energetic." Max grabbed a chair and, with a discreet but skillful effort, managed to retrieve the ball. Emma looked at him, impressed but unaware that he was a millionaire CEO. "Thank you very much, Max. You're rather handy for a guardian," she said with a laugh. He smiled, feeling a familiar warmth fill him. "I'm doing my best. You always seem to be surrounded by children. Is that your job?" Emma nodded. "Yes, I work as an assistant at a community center. I like helping children, bringing a little joy to their daily lives." Max felt his admiration grow. She knew nothing about his world, and yet she spoke with such passion and simplicity that it made him vulnerable in a way he had never known. In the following days, he looked for opportunities to meet her, sometimes by chance, sometimes with a pretext: to help a child cross the street, repair a stuck gate, or simply to keep her company while she supervised the games. Each encounter strengthened the fragile but sincere bond that was forming between them. For Max, every smile from Emma was a silent victory against the artificial world he had always known. But he also knew that this game of hiding his identity carried a huge risk. If she discovered the truth too soon, he could lose everything. And yet, he had never been so eager to continue this game. A week later, Max went to the park earlier than usual. He wanted to surprise Emma with a coffee he had bought at the small local cafe. When he saw her, she was sitting alone, concentrating on a notebook, scribbling notes for a project with the children at the center. "Hi Emma, I thought you might like some coffee," he said, holding out the cup. Emma looked up in surprise. "Oh, thanks, Max, but I don't really have time, I have to finish these plans." Max shrugged, trying to hide his disappointment. "No problem. I can wait a bit if you want." She smiled, but Max noticed a slight frown betraying her fatigue. "You're always so helpful," she whispered almost to herself. As he sat down at a safe distance so as not to disturb her, a little boy ran straight towards them and tripped over his shoelaces. Max rushed to catch him, but in the process, he spilled the coffee all over Emma's notebook. "Oh no. I'm sorry, really," he exclaimed, blushing with embarrassment. Emma looked at the overturned cup, then at her soaked notes. A silence fell. It's okay, but I needed these plans for tomorrow," she said, trying to contain her frustration. Max felt his heart clench. He had meant to be considerate, and now he was doing the exact opposite. I can help you rewrite everything, or find a solution." Emma sighed, but something in her eyes changed, a glint of amusement despite the annoyance. "Well, I suppose a little help won't hurt. But be careful, Max, you could turn my day into a disaster if you're not careful." For the first time, Max saw that Emma wasn't just beautiful and kind, but also strong and straightforward. And despite the misunderstanding, he found himself laughing with her, feeling that these kinds of moments, even chaotic ones, brought people closer together more than anything. That day, he understood one essential thing: to win Emma's heart, it wasn't enough to hide your wealth or play a role. You had to be there, sincerely, for better or for worse. A few days after the spilled coffee incident, Max decided to take a calculated risk. He'd noticed that Emma often came home late from the community center and that her walks to the subway were lonely. He volunteered to walk with her one evening, simply pretending to make sure she didn't slip on the sidewalk or that any children got lost along the way. Emma, hesitant at first, finally agreed. "Thank you, that's kind of you, Max. But you don't have to," she said, adjusting her bag. "I want to do it." "Consider it an extra favor from your assigned guardian," he replied with a slight smile. The ride was punctuated by light conversation. Emma spoke of her childhood, her dreams of making a difference in the lives of the neighborhood children, and her passion for art and music. Max listened, captivated by her sincerity and enthusiasm. Every word, every gesture revealed a pure heart he had never encountered in his world of luxury and financial intrigue. At one point, they passed an old, closed bookstore. Emma leaned over to look through the window and whispered, "I've always dreamed of owning a place like this, a little place where people could come to read, create, and dream." Max felt a warmth spread through him. He wanted to tell her that one day he could make this dream come true for her, but he held back. His real identity had to remain a secret for now. So he settled for a simple, "It's a beautiful dream. I'm sure you'll find a way to make it come true." Emma looked at him, a little surprised by his conviction. "Thanks, Max. You always have the right words, even when coffee is spilled on my plans," she said with a small laugh. For the first time, Max felt Emma beginning to trust him. He understood then that this trust was fragile and precious. He had to protect her, but also prepare for a moment when the truth would inevitably be revealed. Walking side by side through the streetlit streets, he felt a silent promise: no matter the obstacles, he would do anything to earn her heart. A few weeks had passed since Max and Emma had started spending time together. Their bond was growing stronger, but the secret of his identity weighed more and more heavily on Max. He knew that one false step could shatter everything. One afternoon, while Emma was chatting with him in the park, a dapper man approached them. He wore an expensive suit and a charming smile. "Emma? I didn't expect to see you here," he said in a soft but familiar voice. Emma frowned. "Mark? What are you doing here?" Mark, a former colleague turned art collector, greeted her politely before turning his gaze to Max. "And you are?" Max felt a tension rising. I'm just Max, the neighborhood watchman," he replied calmly, trying to mask his nervousness. Embarrassed, Emma quickly introduced Max to Mark, but she noticed Mark's slightly tense expression. "Max is my friend." Mark smiled, but there was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "Nice to meet you. I hope I'm not disturbing you." After he left, Emma was silent for a moment. "You know, Max, sometimes I wonder if you're hiding something from me. You're always there when I need you, but sometimes you disappear." Max felt his heart clench. He wanted to tell her everything, but he knew the time wasn't right yet. "Emma, I'm not hiding anything bad from you. I just care about you and I want to be there for you," he whispered sincerely. Emma nodded, but doubt was still there. Max understood that maintaining his secret was becoming increasingly difficult. Every smile, every kind gesture, every shared moment brought their hearts closer, but the lie threatened to destroy everything. That evening, Max walked home, thoughtful. He looked in the mirror and wondered how much longer he could play the role of simple guardian before the truth came out, and if he would be ready for the consequences when that day came. One evening, while Emma was organizing a small collection for the community center, Max volunteered to help set up tables and distribute invitations. Everything was going well until a small fire accidentally broke out in the center's kitchen. A pan had been left on the stove, and smoke began to fill the room. Without thinking, Max rushed inside to put out the fire and save some important documents from the center. Emma, panicking, followed close behind, shouting, "Max! Watch out!" But Max, calm and quick, took control of the situation. He came out of the kitchen covered in soot, his face lined with exertion. Emma rushed over to him, her eyes wide. "You're crazy. You could have burned yourself." Max cracked a smile, tired but happy to see everyone was safe. "I wasn't going to let you lose all that, or anyone get hurt," he replied, his voice deeper than usual. Emma looked at him intensely. For the first time, she saw in him a strength and courage that far surpassed the simple guardian she knew. "Max, you're incredible," she whispered. At that moment, something changed between them. Emma felt a deeper connection forming, a mixture of gratitude, admiration, and emotion that she couldn't ignore. Max, for his part, understood that his role as a simple guardian was no longer sufficient to describe who he truly was. As they walked out together, covered in soot but smiling, Max felt a silent urgency. The time would soon come when he would have to reveal his true self. And he knew the truth could either bring them even closer or tear everything apart in an instant. But for the first time in a long time, he found himself hoping that the truth might unite them rather than tear them apart. As the weeks passed, Max felt the pressure mounting. Every moment spent with Emma was a delight, but every smile he offered her was tinged with guilt. He knew that sooner or later, the truth would come out. One afternoon, as they were walking near the park where they had met, Emma put her hand on his arm and said softly, "Max, you know you can tell me anything, right?" Max felt his heart clench. "Everything?" he asked, trying to mask his concern. Emma nodded. "Yes, even if it's something difficult or strange. I want to know who you really are." The words hit Max like a wake-up call. He'd always dreaded this moment. How could he reveal that he wasn't the simple, unassuming guardian she thought she knew, but Alexander Blake, heir to a billion-dollar empire? Before he could reply, a notification on his phone brought him back to his real life. An urgent matter at his company headquarters required his immediate attention. Max excused himself and hurried off, leaving Emma confused and slightly hurt by his sudden departure. Later that night, he lay awake, thinking about Emma. Every smile, every laugh, every moment spent with her showed him how much he cared. And yet, he knew that her secret was becoming a sword of Damocles hanging over their relationship. He wondered, should he continue to see her while hiding the truth, or confess everything now and risk losing her forever? The dilemma gnawed at him. And as he stared at the ceiling of his modest caretaker's room, his temporary refuge, he made a silent decision: he could no longer delay the truth. But how could he make her understand that he had only ever sought one thing, her heart, not her money? The next morning, Max took a deep breath. He knew he couldn't continue lying to Emma. Every moment he spent with her strengthened his feelings, but the secret he carried threatened to destroy everything. He joined her at the park, where she was distributing books to the children at the community center. Emma looked up and smiled at him, as usual, innocent and radiant. Max felt his heart sink. "Emma. I have to tell you something," he began, his voice trembling slightly. She frowned, intrigued. "What is it, Max?" He took her hand in his and looked into her eyes. "All this time, I haven't been honest with you. I'm not just a caretaker. I'm Alexander Blake. The real Alexander Blake. CEO and heir to a financial empire." Silence fell. Emma stepped back slightly in shock. Her eyes widened, a mixture of disbelief and confusion. You're a billionaire," she stammered. Max nodded, squeezing her hand a little tighter. "Yes, and I kept that from you because I wanted you to love me for me, not for my money. Everything we've shared, it's true. My feelings for you are genuine." Emma fell silent, her gaze flickering between anger and emotion. You lied to me, this whole time." "I know, and I'm sorry. But everything I did was to protect you, to give us a fair chance." She looked down, trying to digest the revelation. Then, slowly, a fragile smile appeared on her lips. "You're crazy, completely crazy, but maybe I understand." Max felt a surge of hope. "So, can you give me a chance? A chance to show you that I really love you, without lies this time?" Emma looked up at him, her eyes shining with emotion and puzzlement. "Okay, but you'll have to prove to me that this is all real, Alexander. No hiding places, no secrets." He smiled, his heart pounding. "It's a promise, Emma. I promise you." That day, despite the shock and confusion, a new chapter began for them, one of truth, of renewed trust, and of pure love, beyond any lies or secrets. A few weeks after the revelation, Max and Emma began to build a relationship based on trust and honesty. Max had opened his world to Emma, inviting her to discover his life as a billionaire, his responsibilities, and even some aspects of his empire. For Emma, it was fascinating, but sometimes intimidating. However, their budding happiness soon faced new obstacles. Rumors about Alexander Blake's relationship with a young woman from the neighborhood began circulating in the local media. Although false, they sowed seeds of doubt in Emma's mind. She wondered if Max was playing two roles, if she was merely a temporary diversion in his billionaire life. One evening, after a long day at the community center, Emma confronted Max in his luxurious apartment. "Max. Alexander. I don't know what to think anymore. Everything I hear, these rumors," she said, her voice shaking. Max took her in his arms, sincere and determined. "Emma, listen to me carefully. Everything you're hearing is wrong. You're the only one who matters to me. I love you, and nothing and no one will change that. I don't want you to doubt me." Emma felt tears welling up, but deep down she knew his words were true. Yet the outside influence was powerful. "It's just, I'm not used to this world, and I'm afraid everything we've built will crumble." Max gently stroked her cheek. "So let's be ourselves. Let's find our rhythm again. No matter what the world says. We've been through so much already, we can get through this too." Emma took a deep breath and, despite her fears, felt her heart warm. She understood that true love sometimes required patience, trust, and the ability to face external storms together. That night, they fell asleep side by side, closer than ever, knowing that each challenge was just a step toward a stronger, more sincere love. Time had passed since Alexander's revelation. Max and Emma had overcome doubts, dealt with rumors, and gotten to know each other deeply. Their love, forged through hardship, was stronger than ever. One summer evening, Alexander invited Emma to a charity event he was organizing for the community center and the neighborhood children. The place was decorated with twinkling lights, and the whole neighborhood seemed to be there. "Emma, wearing a simple but elegant dress, looked around in wonder. Alexander took her hand and led her onto the stage in front of all the guests. "Emma Carter," he began, his voice firm but moving, "you transformed my life. You showed me that true love has nothing to do with wealth or power. It's about heart, trust, and shared moments." Emma felt her heart pound. Alexander then took a small box out of his pocket. When he opened it, a sparkling ring glistened under the lights. "Will you marry me, Emma? Will you continue this adventure by my side, honestly, sincerely, for the rest of our lives?" Emma's eyes filled with tears. She smiled, moved beyond words. "Yes, Alexander, yes, 1,000 times yes." The guests applauded and cheered the couple on, but for them, the outside world no longer existed. This moment was perfect, the result of their patience, sincerity, and courage. Alexander took her in his arms, and Emma felt as if all the weight of secrets, lies, and doubts had finally dissipated. They were free, together, and ready to build a future filled with love, respect, and complicity. That evening, in each other's eyes, they saw the promise of each day to come, a pure, unconditional love, and the certainty that sometimes the most beautiful stories begin with a simple gesture of courage and sincerity.